I have listened to the advice of everyone and anyone that has commented on not only this post, but my previous posts related to this one. As of today, I'm moving out. I already called and emailed several apartments and have interviews all lined up for this week. The earliest I'm looking at is December 18th. I promise that I will make an even larger update that details how all this started and how I got my new place. Basically, a point A to point B. She's not keeping a single scrap of my things. I'm taking it all with me, and what I can't take or have no use for will be donated to the respected donation centers. Also, my moving out will go much more smoothly due to the fact that I'm just an occupant and my name's not on the lease. I would rather do it all and leave while they are at work, but they get home early in the morning since they work from 3 to 10 a.m. Doesn't bother me as much that I can't do it when they aren't home, but I'm just happy that this is all going to be over relatively soon. I'm done burning myself for their comfort. I was scheduled for an interview for an apartment on Tuesday, literally a few days after my initial post. My heart was kind of pounding because the demo unit the lady was showing me happened to be right next door almost to the original apartment that I shared with Amber and Troy. We had to cut across the back before reaching the demo unit. The unit she showed me was newly renovated and the perfect size for someone like me. Not too big and not too small, and it even had space for a balcony on top. I was thoroughly impressed with what I saw, and to be honest, I would have been impressed with any unit, so long as it got me out of my situation at the time. The lady who was giving the tour of the unit said she has a couple of other prospects looking at similar units, but that they hadn't come to a decision yet. It was then that my joy got the better of me, and I ended up shamelessly blurting out, "Sold, I'll take it." It got a good laugh out of her, and we made our way back to the office to confirm the acquisition of one of the units she was talking about. I was fortunate enough to be able to select an upstairs unit because she had sent me a text that stated there were 2 units available, an upstairs unit and a ground floor unit. After sending an initial fee for the application, I was almost instantly approved the next day over and soon after had sent in my deposit. The Friday of that same week, however, Amber brought up the topic of the incident that occurred on Saturday night earlier in the week. She wanted to get to the bottom of how I knew they were having relations and that it made her livid piss when I knocked a second time. She then went on what seemed to be like a rant discussion about the entire incident for a little over an hour, trying to figure out just how I was able to hear them. She made statements of, "Why were you listening? Why did you hone in on what we were doing? You said you could hear everything, so clearly that means you can hear everything and anything we say or do. That's both creepy and an invasion of privacy." Amber told me that she was so angry that Saturday night that she was wanting to kick me out and had typed up what she described as an entire book worth of message, out of rage. She only deleted it because her boyfriend Troy had convinced her to and said that it's not worth it, let it go. She even went so far as to walking to her bedroom, playing a video on her phone at full volume, closing the door, going into my room and closing the door, and trying to listen for the sound of her phone. Surprise, surprise, she could hear it. And it only proved that I wasn't lying or making things up. She wanted to know how I could hear everything, and I told her 6 separate times that I can't hear exactly what they are saying, just mumbles that sometimes get loud, as well as laughter. But it's pretty easy to differentiate between what's a mumble and what's a moan. Any adult worth their salt should know what a moan sounds like, or at the very least, understand that a long, drawn-out, muffled tone sounds kind of weirdly suspicious and different from what you'd hear if it was from 2 people talking or laughing. Amber basically called me a tyrant, and that I was acting like a Nazi, as she went on to tell me viewpoints, stances, and opinions on the matter. It was basically a slap in the face, as she, for lack of better phrasing, demanded to know how exactly I could tell what was going on. I don't just sit there in silence and wait for something to happen. I either have music playing or a video going while I play a game on my console. I keep one headphone on and the other off my ear because I want to hear my game as I play music for background noise, whenever I'm not watching a cutscene. Please tell me I'm not the only one who does this. It's not my fault if I happen to overhear her laughter, as it raises a few handfuls of decibels, and I don't choose to listen or hone in on whatever it is they're talking about. Amber has this nasty habit of exaggerating things when she talks about something. For example, when she was talking to me about all of this, she said that I constantly knock whenever I hear something, and now whenever she hears me get up and out of my room, she always huddles in place and waits to hear what I'm doing. Much like a child who's up late past their bedtime and is trying to be stealthy, freezing when they hear their parents up and about. The only time I ever knocked on her door was when I wanted to talk to her, or Troy, or see when they wanted to go get groceries, or even just casually, brief and friendly conversation. Amber told me that she's never been this stressed before in her entire life, and that she's going to need therapy after all of this. To which she repeated that she'll need therapy more than once. I couldn't agree more in all honesty. This whole experience is nerve-wracking, a huge mental strain, testing our patience, and it's putting our mental stabilities on a rusty razor wire. The messed up part is that nobody should have to be going through this situation to begin with. Nobody should be forced to basically live with their ex and boyfriend of said ex. The mature and responsible thing to do is to live out the rest of the lease, and then either person can live with their new partner after they've acquired their own places. Again, I just want to reiterate that I know I wasn't the best boyfriend. I said and did things that I shouldn't have, and I accept and acknowledge that I did my fair share of wrongdoings, but I wouldn't invite a long-distance relationship partner to come and live with me while my ex was still present in the remaining duration of the lease, regardless if they were here to help with bills and rent. I'm not a bad person for asking her to not have relations while I'm in the house, and I don't actively go out of my way to spy and eavesdrop on every little thing that happens to go on in their room. I sincerely don't give one fresh Prince of Bel-Air's duck of what goes in their room. And I don't even give them any crap when Troy smokes out on the balcony. Neither he nor she smokes on the balcony. They just sit on the floor in the apartment and crack the door open. They don't set foot in the balcony in the slightest. They've even smoked in the apartment when the doors closed because they didn't want to have to deal with a wasp. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've woken up smelling cigarette smoke. I was too afraid of being called a tyrant or a Nazi to speak up and ask them to go outside. Or in general. Amber is solely focused on the fact that we're struggling financially. But we were doing just fine financially when we were together because we pooled our money together and were able to slowly build up a savings of sorts for when we really needed money. The only poison we encountered in terms of finances was DoorDash. It gets addicting because of the comfort and ease of use. Amber even said it herself, we got by because we pooled our money together. We were even at one point on our way to a substantial amount of $5,000 within almost a year's time, and we were doing extremely well for ourselves. She was never for want, and we were never starving ourselves to pay bills or rent. We were able to get nice things and live comfortably. Another issue I faced is Troy's fondness for P. Troy liked to smoke W to unwind and whatnot. The problem is that it's illegal in the state I reside in. I ran the risk of going to jail by the way of guilty by association, even though I myself have never smoked any or plan to smoke any. I couldn't say anything about it because I know it would just be another demand of the Nazi tyrant in Amber's eyes. I was always on edge and stressed out of my mind for fear of cops showing up at the apartment one day and then arresting everyone present. My perfectly clean background record would have been smudged and stained by the actions of another, and it wouldn't matter what I would say to law enforcement, I'd still be residing in a house where D were present, and I know for a fact they have it because Amber took the liberty of showing it to me one night. Amber and I had somehow had a moment of civility one day as we talked about Christmas like two mature adults. She was brainstorming on what to get Troy for Christmas, and that she knew he liked unique things. You guessed it, she wanted to give him it. And needless to say, I wasn't about to let there be a mix of alcohol, P, and G in a place that I don't have any legal ties to and wasn't moved out of yet. Mainly because if they were to get busted somehow, it would only worsen the crap pile for me that I would be inevitably thrown into. Amber proceeded to call me a pussy multiple times while laughing before finally giving in and agreeing to give up the pursuit of gifting her boyfriend a knife. The conversation for the G for Christmas took place on Thursday, December 17th. The week before the week of Christmas. The apartment complex didn't have a move-in date for me on my apartment, but I was in communication with the complex and they informed me that they would have a better update next week. I called the apartment complex and inquired about the status of my unit. I was informed that the remodeling team was behind a bit, but all they had left to do was to finish with painting the walls and that she would check in on the following Monday of the 28th. Despite my constant warnings of telling Amber to save her money, she went out and bought me a pair of Skull Candy, noise-canceling headphones for Christmas. She also bought Troy some gifts, as well as getting a tree, stocking, and stocking stuffers to decorate the apartment with. While Amber and Troy lounged in the living room, I finalized getting my utilities turned on and ready for my move-in date. The date was set for a solid 1/1/2021 with no foreseeable bumps or hiccups. The plan for that Friday was to go to bed like normal on Thursday. Set an alarm to wake up when they do on Friday. Wait for them to go to work. Text, call my folks to give them the green light to come here. Load up the U-Haul, drive a few seconds across the way to my place, and then load my stuff into my place. I only had 6 hours to get a head start, but it was better than none. I was hit with some extremely unfortunate news on the 28th of December in the morning after I had started my shift at work. The entire staff, save for one technician, had been stricken, were unable to complete the punch card, checklist of things that are or aren't up to their standards, necessary for me to move in on the 1st. Needless to say, I was absolutely devastated, because that not only meant that I had lost my 6-hour window to pack the U-Haul while they were at work, but I would also need to wait for an additional 2, maybe 3 weeks due to the move-in date being pushed to the 8th of January. Another blow was the fact that I had to pay rent twice. Once for the place that I was staying at with Amber and Troy, and again for my own place once I was finally able to move in. I pushed the U-Haul reservation out another week, and I made the necessary calls to utilities to push the service start date to the same week. It was getting hard to stay positive and upbeat after being hit with not only this bad news, but the bad news of 3 extremely close members of my family catching COVID and not doing so well. What little good news or small wins I had won were quickly being overtaken and overshadowed by a fast-growing tsunami of bad news. I went to work Wednesday that same week with my soul crushed and basically all hope lost. It was a grueling day that week, and I was in the middle of a task when I had received a phone call from the apartment complex. I could hardly contain myself as I spoke to the lady helping me with my case. She informed me that they had a similar unit just a few doors down from the one I was supposed to move into, and that a similar unit was available for a Friday move-in date. Needless to say, I said yes. Fast forward to Thursday. I found out it was going to start snowing late Thursday night and would keep on snowing until noon on Friday the following day. I got in touch with my parents, and we all agreed that the best course of action was to move in on that Thursday before the snow had a chance to fall. The only downside is that I did the move while both Troy and Amber were present in the apartment. The move went surprisingly well, save for Troy and Amber only speaking up when my parents weren't present in the apartment. They asked me why I didn't give them a sooner heads up, and I told them that they gave me my 30-day notice when I was told to STFU and GTFO. Amber tried to tell me that she didn't say that, but I wasn't about to let that blatant lie slide on by without being called out. Once all of my things were moved into my new apartment, I started receiving texts from Amber that varied from levels of being civil to straight up rude, and filled with over-exaggerations and lies made up to strengthen her crusade against me. She told me that I took things from her that she herself got, and when I apologized and tried to return them, she told me not to worry about it and that she would replace them. At first, I thought that would be the end of it. But then she went on to say, "You must have told your mom to take everything. And, it's spiteful and you're doing it out of hate. How else would your mom know that some of the things were stuff that my own mom gave me?" I would say that I was surprised at her text messages, but honestly, I wasn't. My own parents knew what to take because they're the ones who literally bought me all of my kitchenware. Anything else was by accident, and I would have gladly returned it civilly and rationally, and I would have also apologized in person. I got sick of her rude and immature way of speaking to me, so I called her out on it. She resorted to calling me a child and a hateful a-hole, and that I shouldn't try to be a martyr. And then tried guilt-tripping me with, "My mom asked about you, and I bet you anything she has presents for you." When I tried giving her a taste of her own medicine by telling her that I don't appreciate that guilt trip, she claimed that I was being hateful and that she was only stating a fact. So suddenly, when she's the one doing it, she's giving out facts, but when I'm doing it, I suddenly have an answer for everything, and I'm hiding the truth. She then told me that if I wanted to be hateful, I could spread all of your toys onto the floor for you and your parents to walk in on when you come to get the rest of your things. I'll admit, I got a good laugh out of that one. What would a pile of S-toys on the floor accomplish other than proving that she's being childish and immature? After my folks and I finally moved into my new apartment and we finally settled down, I heard through the grapevine that she's telling people I emptied the apartment and took everything, and that she had to replace what I took with money she doesn't have. Yes, I emptied the apartment, but I didn't take everything. The furniture, save for one couch, the utensils, save for things she bought plus what she didn't want me to return, the shower curtains, the shower heads, the toilet seat covers, the toiletries, the appliances, the vacuum, all the electronics I brought with me when I moved, and the seasonings, spices, herbs, all mine. All of that was either stuff I brought with me or stuff I bought after. I left behind the shower curtains, some food, the toilet seat covers, the shower head, the seasonings, herbs, spices, some food I got for myself, a couch I bought, and a memory foam queen-sized mattress I bought. She also had the audacity to spread rumors, calling me a snake. She and the ones that gravitate to and around her are so focused on the bad and negatives I did during the time that we were together that it somehow makes them believe it gives her a golden ticket to do what she did to me. In what situation or setting is it ever okay to fly down your new love interest from another state to come to visit, and then live with you and your ex after you just broke up with them not even a month ago? However, karma is catching up to her because last I heard, she's about to lose her apartment and her car. I have since blocked both Troy and Amber from everything and anything I can think of, and I'm only looking forward and up from here on out. I don't wish misfortunes on anyone, but sometimes there's only so much you can take in life, and when you reach that point, your mental health and sanity instantly become your top priority. I wanted out, and I couldn't take another moment in that hellhole. The only thing on my mind right now is completing the Kingdom Hearts games and enjoying me, myself, and I. I don't plan on dating anytime soon because I want to focus on not only healing, but learning to both love and live with myself and be comfortable with just my own space and my own thoughts. I don't want to be romantically involved with anyone anytime soon because I'm afraid they might unintentionally become a rebound. And I wouldn't wish that evil on anyone.